Marlon Chito Vera deserves a title shot, but will he get one? Time will tell. Lots to happen in the bantamweight division. In the UFC, very stacked division, lots going to be happening, and we will see if he gets his title shot. Hey Jive Picks here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, founder, editor, and producer Hayden Iverson. Going to be going over the UFC San Diego card in this video. Quite the card. Turned out to be very exciting. Not a ton of big names on the card, but sometimes those are the best cards to watch. A lot of violence in this one, a lot of exciting fights. Even with some fights not ending in a finish, they were quite the brawl. We will get right into it. Not going to waste any time. Starting with the main event and Chito Vera and Dominic Cruz. Chito Vera gonna start off slow, as he does in most of his fights. I did not have any action on him to begin the fight. My plan was to live bet him after round 1 or 2, depending on the price tag. Because he is such a slow starter, I figured Dominic Cruz would come out fast, and he did just that. Probably winning the first round, kind of in and out. Chito not throwing a lot of volume. Dominic Cruz looking fast, throwing a lot of volume. Cruz probably ticks round 1, which made me throw 2 units on Chito Vera after round 1 live at -120. I thought, if it gets around even, I would take some shots on him live, because he is so great in those late rounds and seems to just digest everything that happens throughout the fight and ultimately starts to land power shots later in the rounds. So I took him live for 2 units after round 1 at -120. Round 2 starts, kind of the same stuff. Chito did drop Dom once in the first round, which gave me a little bit more confidence in backing him. And then in round 2, he kind of does the same thing. And after round 2, Chito's sitting at -125. So about the same price after round 1. So I put another unit on him. And you can kind of tell Chito's getting his reads. He's kind of starting to figure out Cruz, figure out his timing. And then in round 3, you could really start to see that he's finding the shots, finding the accurate, placing his shots in an accurate position to damage Dominic Cruz. And then ultimately in round 4, gets that crazy head kick, which was just a thing of beauty. Timed it perfectly. You could tell that he was, the reads that Chito Vera makes live in person is really something special. You could see that he wants to stay patient. It's almost like he needs 5 rounds, which could be concerning going forward if, he's on a pay-per-view main card and it's not a 5-rounder. He kind of needs 5 rounds to make his reads and get those power punches in, power kicks in, power knees, whatever they are, because he is such a read guy. He's got to get his reads in the first round or 2. So I thought, he was about -240 to start the fight, and I figured he would drop rounds 1 or 2 or both, so you'd get a better price on him after that. So I had nothing going into it, and then ultimately got a good price on him after round 1 and round 2, which kind of did save me from having a pretty bad day on the books. Not a terrible day, but very disappointing. We'll be getting into that, I guess, in this next fight. Part of it, this next fight. Nate Landwehr and David Onama. I was very, very high on David Onama. I thought maybe with him fighting a month ago, maybe that would be a red flag, but I thought maybe also I could just be reading too much into that. He wouldn't take – why would you take a fight if you're not – confident in it, right? He fought a month ago, July 9th, I believe it was, and then takes this fight against Nate Landwehr that was supposed to happen earlier on in the spring. But I had Onama and Godinez parlayed together, which turned out to be terrible. I had Onama by sub, little sprinkle, and Onama inside the distance for a unit and a half. So I had a lot invested into David Onama, and he absolutely did not perform. First round goes his way. That first round definitely goes his way. You know, clips him with a punch and nearly puts him out, and then kind of hits him again and brings him back to life. Nate Landwehr, quite the fucking dog. Jesus. He came to put on a performance. He really didn't come to like necessarily win a fight. Round 2 comes in and David Onama looks gassed, which is very concerning considering, you know, he's got 2 full rounds left and he's probably banked 1, but you never know. And round 2, he just survives, pretty much just survives for the whole round. You know, Nate is taking him down. He's doing anything he wants to him. It seems like he could finish him if he really wanted to, but he just wants to, you know, put on a great performance for the fans, which I'm all for. But if I was backing him as a bettor, I'd be like, dude, just fucking finish him. Like he had so many opportunities to just lay the hammer on David Onama, because Onama wanted out, dude. He was tired. You could tell that he was just like, why is this guy not putting me away? He's shelling up against the fence. Looks like he didn't want to be in there. And pretty much the same thing happens in round 3. Onama's just gassed, trying to survive, basically. He's not really throwing anything offensive, and Nate's literally letting him back into the fight. You know, he'll have him in a position where he could just, you know, rain down punches and the fight's over. But he tells Onama to get back up and fight him, which got the crowd just really riled up. And I was all for it, man. It was fun. A really fun fight to watch. Disappointing, though, for my boy David Onama. You know, I had 4 units invested into him. So, yeah, that sucked. One of my top plays for this week, and nearly gets the finish in round 1, which, you know, would have looked a lot better for me, but does not. Pretty bad performance for David Onama, and Nate Landwehr gained a lot of fans last night, I will tell you that. Next fight, we're looking at Yasmin Yaragui. And, or is it's Yasmin Haraguay? I believe that's how you say it. That's how the announcers were saying it. Haraguay and Yasmin Lucindo. This fight I was very excited for. I said it in the video, the predictions video. I knew these 2 girls were going to come to scrap, younger fighters making their debuts. A lot of finishes on their record, and I had a unit play on the fight to not go the distance in this fight, and ultimately it does go the distance, so I lose my bet. But if I could go back and do it again without knowing the outcome, I'd probably do the same thing. I mean, these 2 girls swung. They were swinging out of their shoes and put on a great performance as well. It was a really fun fight to watch. I think both of these girls have a big future in the UFC. They're going to look back on this fight, and maybe they'll meet each other down the road in a few years or so. But very exciting fight. Haraguay looks like she could be a real problem in the strawweight division. Same with Lucindo. The only thing about Lucindo is she, kind of gets into brawls, and at such a young age, you got to wonder the longevity of that approach to the game. As for Haraguay, a little bit more technical, a little bit more defensive as far as her movement, her feet, footwork. So sucks that I lost the bet, but also a very fun fight to watch. Moving on, Devin Clark and Azamat Mirzakhanov. I had a unit play on Devin Clark as the dog. I figured if he were to push his cage control and really just want to control Mirzakhanov, not allow this to be a kickboxing battle, that he could win this fight and make it a boring fight. Really, that's really what he needed to do, and he ultimately did not do that. Mirzakhanov showed a really, really good performance. Devin Clark was content to stand there with him and really, I guess, didn't know. I mean, he had to know that Azamat Mirzakhanov has a deadly left hand. But it looked like Devin Clark was just had no clue that this guy had a power left hand. So disappointing to watch that one. As a betting backer for Devin Clark, but it is what it is, and I will live with that one. Mirzakhanov stays undefeated. Could be a decent problem in the light heavyweight division. He's just so undersized for the division that it's hard to see that he could be a real title contender. He could probably push into the top 15, top 10. But I don't see him being that top-tier guy. Moving on, Priscilla Cachoeira, Ariane Lipski. I had Ariane Lipski in my picks for this channel in the predictions video. I went on the TikTok to put my final predictions, and I switched it to Priscilla Cachoeira. It just seemed like there was way too many red flags for Ariane Lipski coming into this fight, and I figured, Priscilla's going to come out swinging. I also had a half unit play on her to win by KO/TKO at plus 550, which cashed, which kind of saved me as well. I was feeling pretty down until that one happened. So thank you, Priscilla Cachoeira. This one was pretty much over right when it started. Priscilla comes back, right hand, cocked back, ready to unload. And she ultimately lures Lipski into getting a little bit of a brawl, and Cachoeira catches her. And that's the fight right there. That's put the wraps on that one. So thank you, Priscilla, for cashing that ticket. That was big. That saved me a little bit. And another dog came through in that one. If we look at the full card, 13 fights, one was a draw. 6 underdogs came through and 6 favorites. And on a card that there were a lot of heavy favorites, for these dogs to come through, it's surprising. But it was a crazy afternoon/night in San Diego. I will tell you that. Moving on, though. Bruno Silva and Gerald Meershart. This one opened up the main card. Gerald Meershart looked really, really good. I know he switched his camp down to Sanford, training with Henry Hooft. So, his striking looked a lot better, like light years better. Now, Bruno Silva is quite the striker. You figured he was going to have a big advantage on the feet in this fight. And it didn't look like it. It really didn't look like it. Gerald Meershart looked solid on the feet. Ultimately cracks him in the third round. He was probably winning the first and the second round, so he probably had two rounds banked up. He was mixing in his wrestling, getting some takedowns. He was 1 for 6 on takedowns, but the one he got was solid, and getting some ground and pound in there as well. Forcing Bruno to be uncomfortable. And ultimately, Meershart cracks him with the right hand and jumps on the guillotine and cashes our ticket for Meershart by sub, which also helped. I only had a quarter of a unit on that one at plus 550. I got that really early in the week. I figured, for Meershart to win by sub would probably be around plus 400. So I saw plus 550. I had to sprinkle a little bit on there. Turned out to be a good bet. And we cashed that one, saved us a little bit on the day as well there. I hit 2 plus 550 props, but the two fighters that I had the most confidence in at minus. They were both minus 300 favorites or more, and they let me down. They let me down. Gosh, that was a tough pill to swallow. I guess which leads us into the next fight. Angela Hill, Lupi Godinez. I was very, very high on Lupi Godinez, man. She was put on an absolute performance her last time out. Dominant wrestling. I figured, the path to victory, easiest path to victory here is to come out and do the same thing to Angela Hill. Angela Hill, known for being a stand-up kickboxer, striker, Muay Thai, whatever you want to call it. And if Lupi just pushes her wrestling, gets the takedown, she's win this easily. Do the same thing you did last fight. You had 13 minutes in control time in a 15-minute fight last fight with Ariane Carnelosi. You do the same thing here. It's easy money. You take her. I had her by decision as well, which was minus 160. And the first round, she comes out absolutely swinging. She looks really good, though. I mean, I got to say, her striking looked really good, but it was just not the path to victory, not the easiest path to victory. Sure, if you want to, stand there and throw, it looks good. It looks pretty. Like I said, your striking looked really good. Angela Hill's very, very solid striker. And you stood there toe-to-toe with her. She's a veteran. And, of course, they're doing the introductions. I see Angela Hill, 0-8 in the UFC as an underdog. So I'm feeling good about this one, a very big favorite. This is easy money. It's very, very easy money. And Lupi Godinez banks the first round. And I'm keeping an eye on the live betting. She's a minus 700 favorite after round one. So I'm like, all right, let's go. One round banks, just need one more. And survive the rest of the fight, and we cash all of our tickets. And round two comes around, and it's close because, Lupi cracked Angela Hill in the first round, kind of wobbled her, damn near got a knockdown. So, Lupi gets round one for sure. Round two, it's a little bit, it's just back and forth. It's women's MMA back and forth where you're like, could go either way. It could go either way. And take a look at the live betting. And Godinez is, after round two, she was plus 170. I think I have that right? Yeah. If I look at my sheet, I write down all my bets and what the odds are when I place them. It was 170. She was plus 170 after round two. Considering she banked round one and round two was a back and forth battle, maybe she squeaks it out. Maybe she has 2 rounds already booked in the judges' eyes. At plus 170, I put a unit on it, feeling pretty good about it. Maybe she even takes round 3 dominantly, and I get a plus 170 ticket for her to just win one round. But no, she comes out round 3. Pretty much the same thing. It's the same. Round 3 is the same as round 2. I think she attempted a takedown in round 2, got the takedown, but then Angela Hill threatens with the guillotine, so it kind of just scared her off. She didn't want to wrestle anymore. And rounds 2 and 3 are pretty much the same thing. Could go either way. Ultimately, the judges go with Angela Hill for both of those rounds, and we lose our ticket. So that sucks. This fight happening before the Onama fight, so that takes out my 2.5 unit play on Godinez and Onama parlay together, and then I lose a unit and a half on her by decision, and then I lose a unit on her after the live bet in round 2. So all in about 5 units. 5 units on Lupi Godinez and lost it all. So that sucks. Just goes to show you, it's very hard to back a women's MMA. It's just, especially like a big favorite like that in women's MMA. It's just hard, man. Like, you see a path to victory. Like, I just don't know what's wrong. Like, why would you not push the wrestling when you did that for 13 minutes in your last 15-minute fight, win in dominant fashion? Everyone's talking about you. Everyone's high on you. And you get one takedown, get scared off a guillotine, and don't want to wrestle anymore. All right, cool. Sweet. I guess we live and you learn. You live and you learn. Next fight, heavyweight, Martin Buday, Lucas Dresky, I guess is what they were pronouncing it as. But I had Lucas Dresky in the predictions video, and ultimately I changed that in my TikTok again. So I changed 2 picks this week. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but I did. I changed 2 picks this week, Priscilla Cachoeira, and then this one to Martin Buday. Just seeing them at the weigh-ins, Martin Buday is just a mammoth of a dude, and his past 2 fights has been, cage control, push him up against the cage, wear on him, and I looked at Lucas Dresky, and he severely looks, not undersized, but just like girth-wise, they're the same height, but it looked like if Buday was to just lean on him, make Dresky carry his weight, that he could win this one pretty easily. Not the case. Lucas Dresky puts on an absolute volume clinic, and Martin Buday lands some decent shots. Dresky came out hot like he usually does in the first round. Probably takes the first round. Buday closed, I think, around -300. And after round 1, he was plus 125. So, I kept an eye on the live betting market. So I put a unit on Buday live after round 1. He probably lost the first round, but I figured he's going to look at that, or maybe his corner's going to look at that and be like, yeah, you need to clinch with this guy. You can't just sit there and allow him to throw this volume on you. But he really doesn't change much throughout the fight. He's just kind of stalking him down, and Dresky's, popping in and out, throwing combinations. Buday, when he lands pretty hard. He's a big freaking guy. His leg kicks were, he hit 13 of 13 leg kicks, and they landed some damage. A greasy heavyweight fight, and could go either way. If I was sitting with a Lucas Dresky dog ticket from the start and I lost that split decision, I'd be pretty upset. For the fact that the ticket lost, but also that, he put on a great performance, and Buday squeaked that one out. Very, very greasy decision. Moving on. Cynthia Calvillo and Nina Nunes. I was very, very not confident in Cynthia Calvillo as a minus 190 favorite. If I was going to bet on Nina Nunes, I'd bet on Nina Nunes at the dog. Women's MMA, older fighters. It's kind of dog or pass at that point. For Nina Nunes, she looked pretty good. Ultimately, at the end of the fight, puts her gloves in the center of the octagon, going to retire, wants more kids, wants to just coach and not compete anymore. As for Cynthia Calvillo, maybe she should do the same. No shade, but, didn't look very good. So kind of, not the most exciting fight, just kind of back and forth, women's MMA. Calvillo tried to, push some wrestling as kind of a path to victory that opponents have seen with Nina Nunes in the past, but she couldn't really do it that well. 3 of 6 on takedowns, decent, but really only 2 minutes of control time. So, shout out to Nina Nunes getting a win in her last fight. Not too many people make the choice to step away. The sport kind of makes them based off losing a ton, but for her to go out and win, shout out to her, man. Moving on, Gabriel Benitez and Charlie Antavaros. This one had violence written all over it. Benitez comes to fight. Antavaros, very fragile, but also comes to fight. And pretty much just proved in this fight that Charlie Antavaros, just a frail dude. I mean, I hate to pick on these fighters because they're going in a cage, but he's a good martial artist, very good martial artist, but I just don't know that he's like a fighter. He's not really a durable guy. He's been cut up. He's been hurt in all 3 of his UFC fights now. 11-9 pro record. I can't imagine we see him again in the UFC. For Benitez, this was kind of a layup. He took 2 kind of harder fights, Billy Q and David Onama in his last 2. So this one was kind of a layup. Gets the first round KO, TKO. I mean, it's one thing to lose by KO/TKO. Well, I guess, yeah. It's one thing to lose by KO. But for Charlie Antavaros, it's not like he's getting cold cocked where he's just got this glass chin, like a Jason Witt chin. But for Antavaros, it's he gets on the ground and he gets bloodied and he's just kind of he just wants out, Benitez easily gets the mount. There was no, he just got the mount so easily. And then just rains down punches, and it's Charlie Antavaros just kind of wants to get out of there. He's got a big cut under his eye, which seems to happen in a lot of his fights. And he just kind of, wanted out. So it is what it is. Probably won't be seeing much more of him. Next fight, O'Day Osborne and Tyson Nam. I had a unit play on O'Day by decision, which did not cash. I know a lot of people were high on O'Day Osborne this week. But at minus, I think he closed around minus 350, to minus 400, somewhere in that range. And for the way that he fights, it's there's so many things that could happen and ultimately did happen in this fight that it's at a minus 300 price tag. That's scary. That's you're puckering, man. I mean, he throws himself into danger a good amount of times throughout a fight, especially if it's going to go the distance. If he doesn't get a finish in the first or second round, 15 minutes is a long time for the way that he fights to not get clipped with something. And it comes out, he looks fast. He looks very, very fast. He's a great athlete. He's got solid striking. But Tyson Nam just perfectly times that jump that O'Day did. It was the second time he jumped. And then the second time he jumped, as he's landing, Tyson Nam just comes around with the right hook right on not the cheek, but kind of the side of the head. And O'Day rolls back, kind of looks back, gets back up, and Tyson Nam's right there for another one, puts him out. And 3 minutes into the fight is over. So my ticket for O'Day does not cash, and I had O'Day in the picks, but obviously that didn't happen. Tyson Nam coming in as a pretty solid dog, getting the job done. So shout out to him. Coming off the ACL tear as well. That had to feel good, I imagine. Shout out to him. Next fight, Jason Glasschin Witt and Josh Quinlan. This one pretty much goes how most thought it would. Kind of feeling each other out at the beginning. Jason Witt shoots a takedown, gets it. Quinlan gets up pretty quickly, gets back to the center of the octagon, and Jason Witt kind of throw in, not lazy, but just he's not a fast guy. It's pretty easy to see what's coming from him. Tries to throw a head kick, leaves himself open. Josh Quinlan comes with that left hook, power left hook. A lot of power into that one. And cold cocks him onto the canvas. He's out. It was at catch weight, so he's up 10 pounds. That 10 pounds did not help him. Still got a glass chin. Poor guy. It sucks that people have to be known for that, but you're known for what you're known for, and he earned it. Get knocked out that many times that quickly, you're gonna earn that title. So his BJJ black belt that he just got promoted to could not save him there. Poor Jason Witt, cold cocked once again. Sorry, man. But maybe take some time off. Get your head back. Last fight, which was the first fight on the card, Youssef Zalal and Damon Blackshear. I had a unit and a half on Damon Blackshear. He probably won the first round, probably won the second round, and then definitely loses the third round. This one ends in a draw. One judge scored it 29-28 for Blackshear. One judge scored it 28-20, or I guess the other two scored it 28-28 for a draw. But to me, I just don't see how you could label the third round as a 10-8, because, that's kind of how it had to be for these draws. For Zalal, for me, I've seen so many rounds that could have been a 10-8 that maybe should have been a 10-8. And then I see this one and I'm like, they don't compare to the other rounds. So, that's judging for you, I guess. But, you push on that one, you'll get your money back. I got my money back. My unit and a half on Damon Blackshear. But really controlled him on the ground. Zalal, pushed it to the ground in the first round and the second round, and Damon kind of made him pay for it. If you would think if Zalal just kickboxed from the start, didn't engage in the grappling, he probably wins this fight. Damon was not outclassed on the feet, but it was obvious that he would like it on the ground, and ultimately maybe not gassed out. Maybe, he kind of gassed out round 3. It's either that or he was hurt, but he just survived round 3 pretty much, and ends in a draw. So it's like it didn't even happen. If we look at from the top down, I went 6-6-1 in these fights. Like I said, 6 underdogs coming through. Pretty hefty underdogs as well. Quite the card, man. Quite the card. In total, I lost 2.5 units. The Chito live betting saved me because I was down 5 units, so I gained 2.5 back just from live betting that. So thank God I did that. Thank God Chito comes back with the head kick. Really excited to see what happens in the bantamweight division in these next few months. Excited to see what's next for Chito. Sorry to Dominic, Cruz. It sucks, man. It sucks to be. He's such a dog, and he wears his heart on his sleeve to an extent. He's not like a big talker or anything, but you could tell this guy, he wants it. He wants it really bad. But at this point, it's like his style is almost not you need finishing ability now. It seems like you need finishing ability. If you look at all the people in the top 10 for bantamweight, Aljo, good finisher on the ground. Piotr, good, pretty solid finisher. Corey Sandhagen, pretty solid finisher. Cody Garbrandt, pretty solid finisher. Jose Aldo. I mean, Garbrandt's not in the top 10, but Jose Aldo, you got to have some pop to you. And Dom really doesn't anymore, Maybe, I'd love to see him keep fighting and keep going for it. He can be in some really exciting fights and stuff. And he'll always be a pull for UFC fans. Also, just sucks that he lost in his home city in San Diego. But Chito, man, he's a dog. He's a dog. Dog. But we will wrap this up. Very, very good card, and very excited for the card next week. UFC 278, I believe it is. Usman and Edwards. Is it 278? Yeah, it's got to be 278. Or 279. I don't know. Whatever number it is. Usman and Edwards. Some pretty good prelims on there. You got Aldo and Dvalishvili and Luke Rockhold, Paulo Costa. Some good fights. Some really good fights. Excited to break those down. Excited to watch some film. Very disappointing in my two biggest plays. Two fighters that I backed this week with Godinez and Onama, but that's the name of the game. It's MMA. Big dogs can come through and look like the favorites, and 6 of them did in last night's fights. So shout out to them coming through as dogs. We'll be back with the predictions video very soon. If you want to go follow me on TikTok at HeyJaiPicks, usually throw up a piece of content on there at least once a day, if not more. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a subscription, a like, anything like that. Leave a comment, any videos you want to see. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.